It's great to have Phil and Marianne here. So we've known you guys for many years, and you've been an incredible blessing to us personally, but also to the many teams that we've brought on various occasions, either staff team from Seven or other teams that we've led. And you've hosted us in your beautiful home with your incredible gift of hospitality, which is probably one of the best, most tremendous I've ever seen. But, you know, over this year, we've been talking and encouraging us all to kind of get away on retreats and take time to be with God. And we talk about our friends in Trowbridge, Sam and Jason Wiley, who leads retreats. And we've also been talking about Phil and Marianne, who lead Breathe Ministries. And some of you have actually gone on some of their retreats. So anyway, we thought it'd be great for you to meet them and come a little bit closer. You said you've got a retreat, some coming up.
Yeah, quick.
Great, just tell us.
Do you know, it's really funny because I remember when Owen and Dan, I think it was, right in the early days, and you guys came over to help. We had a Love Breathe day where we just basically get everybody to come and do all the hard work around the place. And I remember you guys built the little prayer cabin that we've got. I saw a photograph of it just recently of them sitting on the edge with a beer, looking very proud of themselves. And it was no mean feat because they had to go up like 3 slopes and up practically into the forest of where we live. It's the valley and it's like high side. And lugging great big pieces of shed up there. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. So I have fond memories of all those times. Yeah. But what we'd love to do is... Well, there's a story of how we got to where we are, and one day we'll tell it to you. It's long, but it is a page turner. It's even longer if I tell it, so I'm not going to.
It's good over a glass of wine, isn't it?
But
or coffee.
There's just this beautiful little valley with this house that pops out of the woods in it, and we've got it and called Breathe Ministries, and we open our door and invite you to our table to come for days of retreat. And the next one, we've finally got them on the website. We're really, really, really bad at advertising ourselves. My next one it's going to be, I'm actually doing an Advent.
Oh, wow.
Right, it's called Re-Enchanting Advent Day, a day for magic, Narnian vibes, Celtic spirituality, and a deep dive into the presence of peace incarnate. And I, for one, I've always wanted to, I just love the whole Advent Christmas thing, but I don't like what we've done to it. And so this is me saying, come with me on a little journey of rediscovering the beauty and the wonder of that season.
Wow.
And I feed you to within an inch of your life.
Cheers.
And there'll be a lot of music and poetry and nonsense as well as, kind of, I can be profound.
Yes.
That's happening on the 30th of November.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm doing another one.
Oh, great.
Right. I know. And this one is I do it annually. It's called a Christmas Crafternoon. Because don't we all love a lazy crafternoon?
Yeah.
But I do one at Christmas just because people kept saying, can you do one? And I've done it for years. I'm going to do another one. And what we do, you come and we do like a walk up in the woods and we gather all sorts of foliage and sticks and things that look interesting, and then do things with glue guns and a lot of food as well. I just sorry, it's my thing. And again, just kind of nature inspired. Let's just get together and have an incredible time prepping ourselves and our homes.
Amazing.
So yeah,
and when's
that's coming out. That is on the 7th of December.
Amazing. So wonderful. So it'll be on your website, but we'll also get all this information on our webpage, on our website too. Fantastic.
There's a writing retreat coming up in February, but you can look that up.
Right. Well, I'm going to leave it up to you then, Phil.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everyone. This is a little bit surreal for me because it's been a number of years since I've stood in front of a group of beautiful people. I do have a tendency to move around, which now everything's on the internet. I mean, this is a bit scary. It's so good to be here and such an honour to stand in front of you. It's a weird thing talking to a bunch of beautiful people, because you're all at a completely different stage of life. You've all got a beautiful story, and then this weird bloke stands up in front of you and wants to somehow communicate something about the love of God to you and break into where you are on your journey. It's such a privilege. It's such a privilege. My prayer is this morning that you will meet him. You will meet him in this time. I trust that you already have been, because, boy, those guys did a beautiful job this morning. Absolutely beautiful job. And I've been so amazed as well. I say amazed, I already knew it, but listening back to some of the sermons that you've been given here, such amazing stuff, such meat, such courage. I don't know if you realize, I hope you do, some of the really important stuff that has been communicated to you over the weeks and months. That whole series on what is God like, so important that we get a deeper understanding of that, because it shapes everything, knowing what he's like. So, can we just pray for a second as I try and still myself for this time? Dear God, thank you for every precious heart that is before me or online. We all have totally unique needs, Lord. Thank you that you know them. Silence the internal narratives in our lives that lead to false limitations. Help us to receive what you say over our individual lives today. Amen. I really believe that God speaks your language. And I don't just mean that in the sense of, whether you're British or whatever. It's that he knows that internal dialogue that's going on in your head right now. And that's quite amazing, isn't it? Because if you imagine how many thoughts are going on, who is this guy? What's going on? Do I really want to listen to him? I better tell you a little bit of my background. How do I sum that up? I was trained as a research scientist, as a pharmacologist. I worked in the drug industry for a couple of years. But during this time, I had already met my lovely wife-to-be. We have now been married for 37 years with 3 children who are all grown up. And I just felt that after doing a couple of years of sort of going through the education system and being told that's what you want to do with your life because you might be reasonable at it, God was just saying something different to me. And he just says, it was really the verse, I think my life verse, Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And I decided to take him at his word and gave up my job. For me, that was what I needed to do, just be available for young people. We spent years just having young people around our house and consuming vast amounts of biscuits and coffee and stuff like that. And then from that, we seemed to accidentally get involved in planting and leading a church, which we were part of a leadership team for over 20 years back on the edge of London in a place called Loughton. And that's where we did life for so many years, and that was really beautiful. as a result of that, I also got very involved over the years in Churches Together, and I started to get involved in networks across denominations and across the whole community. That, in the end, it transferred when we just got to a point where we just felt God was saying, it's time for a new season. Our kids had really grown up, and we were feeling like this whole need to support, cheer on, encourage those that were involved in church leadership, because it is such an amazing honor to be involved in it, and yet so, as I say, random in the sense of dealing with so many beautiful people's lives of every age and stage, every background, and we throw you all together and get on. Love Jesus. Okay, let's try and do that. But knowing that so many people were struggling with what I would very often call sort of false burdens and guilt about trying to look after everyone and care for everyone and keep it together themselves. And my wife has always said, when I have my big house in the country, she kept on sending me these emails of £2 million houses and things like that on Rightmove, and I'm just, yeah, okay. But then we went on a crazy journey, absolutely crazy journey, which brought us to eventually buy this, rent the place to start with, but this place called Breathe. Now, we might have a few pictures. There we are. There's our little valley. There is the house nestled in the valley. And it's only 35 minutes away from here. It's amazing. If you want to come to the promised land, we're over the bridge in Wales. This is the garden. And then what else we got? Oh, yes, we actually have got a woods with us as well. 13 odd acres. Of woodland that's the wild garlic and the bluebells in the spring. It's just absolutely crazy. And then this has been the culture of the table. So had to build a very big table very early on, and my lovely wife Marianne is an amazing cook, hence I am still relatively doing okay because of what she feeds me. Vegetables, yes, I've had to learn to like vegetables in a big way. And I think there's one final picture, I don't know, there we go. There is the prayer cabin. That's one of our cabins on the land that the leadership team sort of hauled up and constructed up on the top of the land. So after that, we hit our feet running, and we had very quickly, literally hundreds of people coming to stay. And after about 2-3 years, we were hosting 500-600 people a year. People from all different churches, every single type of denomination in this country and then abroad, coming from missionaries from all around the world. And for 6 years, we just had an absolute blast meeting with people and just doing all that we could do to cheer them on. It was just absolutely beautiful and humbling to be a part of that. Over that time, God miraculously somehow allowed us to buy the place. This is somebody that's never really had a job past the first 2 years that had any sort of money. How on earth we've got to this place? We still pinch ourselves every time we drive up the road, just going, do we live here? I just don't get it, how we're here. But then when COVID hit, Marianne got very sick very early on, and she is still not great. Over 4 years later, with long COVID, and we have been in isolation for most of that time, for 3-4 years, really seeing nobody. That's part part due to COVID at the start, and then due to a big mental health crash. And so we've gone from having all these people on our doorstep all the time to just the two of us. And for a lot of that, Marianne's been in bed from 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon most days. So I've spent the last 3 or 4 years mowing the grounds and doing everything outside. But in the process, I have listened to probably over 100 books. I don't know how many podcasts, because I'm a bit, that scientist side of me has never left me. Endless questions. Oh, flipping heck. Questions in my head. And I've come to treasure the questions. I've come to treasure the doubts and all the things as I've gone on the journey. It all belongs. It's all a part. It's okay to question. It's okay. But it's been a fascinating journey, sort of going on that place from meeting all these lovely people to then just being left with all these different authors and theologians and asking all these questions. In that, one of the most important things has been, what is God like? And I hope most of you have already seen, either live or online, the Gospel in Chairs, which I didn't realise until I saw that you'd done. We discovered that a few years ago. That's such an important thing. It so says, we've got to know the overarching story of what the Bible is all about before we get into the detail. And that's something of what the Gospel in Chairs, I think, does. So, but what I found was, and this is my story, is that during it, as I was going on all these things, having my mind blown with new bits of thinking and theology, and just sort of thinking, oh, I think I'm believing something slightly different to what I used to believe. I don't quite believe exactly the same things. And I realised that actually God takes us on an evolutionary journey. Now, for some people, don't mention the word evolution. Well, let's use a different word. Let's use the word creation. God is endlessly creating and recreating within us. It's an unfolding picture. As we learn more about life, as we have more experiences, as we see the world continuing to change and we understand more of it and the beauty of it, the complexity of it, the cosmos, all of that is an unfolding picture. And that can be quite destabilizing sometimes, because we like some constancy and some, I don't like everything keep moving, and quite frankly, I'm even a little bit nervous that this is being recorded and going out on the internet today, because I'm not sure in 10 years' time I will believe all the things that I currently believe, if I'm still here by God's grace. Now that is quite shocking, isn't it? But if I look back and think of some of the things I said when I was 20, I'm blimmin' glad it's not on the internet. My goodness me. We're constantly changing, we're constantly evolving. And I discovered that when I was going through that frightening period of, how does this all make sense? It was my experiences of God. It was my encounters with Him that were the anchor points. When I was feeling like everything was shifting, it was just, but I know you spoke to me then. I know you met me then. And that I can't deny that. I'll give you one little story because of time. When we were on that journey of going to this big house, I mean, you know, I have such a passion for justice and for, you know, sort of the poor and those who are marginalised. And I was just having this massive argument with God, saying, I can't live in a massive house. I cannot do that. That's just so, you know, everything within me was just sort of saying, that's just obscene. And I was really struggling with it. And we were off visiting someone in, the complexities of our story. And I was sitting in a walled garden in a National Trust place, and I'm just talking to God and saying, I was thinking about the parable of the talents and just, you know, using what you've been given and, you know, and saying, God, at the end of my life, all I want is your well done. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm just hit by the wave of the Spirit. I'm in bits, and I'm crying, and I just feel God saying to me, son, do you realise you already have my well done? At the time, I was even going, because this is my argumentative nature, I'm going, I'm not even sure if that's theologically correct. And I'm having this argument with God, who I feel has just touched my heart, and I'm just going, I'm not sure. Are you sure, God, that fits into the right theology? But you already have my well done. Oh, I can't tell you how that changed me, liberated me, allowed me to move to a big place. Not that I take it for granted by any one moment on any one day. So I've come to think that it can't all be about intellectual rigour. That's my background, trained as a scientist, all about facts and figures and trying to understand it. You know, at the last count, there's 45,000 Christian denominations. So if it's all about intellectual rigour, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be disappointed because we've got a lot of differences of trying to think it all through. You know, if it's good news for everyone, then okay, what about the people before the Bible was written? What about the people once the Bible was written, but for the most of this last 2,000 years didn't have the printing press and didn't have that? What about people who are intellectually not, you know, they're limited with their intellect? If it's for everyone, it can't all be about that. Now, I'm not saying for one moment that I don't think theology is not important. I mean, what I'm talking about today is still theological, has to be. It's about thinking what we think about God. So I'm not for one moment saying that. But our encounters with him, our being with him and knowing him is just so important. I've just come to really see, and it's taken me it's actually 40 years. He wants a relationship with me. All those listening to all those books, leading church and whatever, and it's still really taken me to get, you know, I mean, I've known about that from the start, but it's actually to get it into my thick skull. It's taken me about 40 years. And I sort of think, I remember another story about people having to be led around the wilderness for about 40 years till they began to get it. It took them that long. I I was listening to a beautiful podcast recently. Some of you might know the guy, a guy called Steve Legg, who he was a bit of a magician and a comedian, and he wrote a magazine, edited a magazine called Sorted. Anyway, he's had a brain tumor, and literally he was about to die, and he was doing this podcast a few days before his death. And the guy interviewing him just said, "Have you got any last words to say? You know, this is going to be put out there after his death." And he just said, God's just spoken to me recently, he said, and these are the three things that God said to me. He said, "I love you, I'm with you, try not to be scared." I was so blessed this morning, and I didn't know this was going to happen, that one of the songs you were going to play was "I Am My Beloved." Oh, that is one of my favourite all-time songs. And I don't know, I can tell you that I've had amazing encounters by it, but if you haven't listened to the author, Jonathan David Helser, to the 10-minute live version, which I would recommend that you lie on the ground in the dark and put it up, tank it up, full volume. It's the story of the prodigal father, the running father. That's what I call it, the running father, the parable of the running father. And there's part of that song as it builds into "I can hear the sound of the Father running." Oh, so powerful. Please go and listen to it. But as a scientist, oh my goodness me, the time's already going. That shows I'm going to have to ditch some of this. This is because I'm rusty and this. If there's some other people that I'd like to point you towards, just if you want to marinate a bit further in the whole thing of what it is to sort of know him in a deeper way in this relational love relationship, then I would certainly recommend anything by a guy called Brennan Manning, who's written loads of beautiful books. And also somebody you may know a bit more who's called Eugene Peterson, any of his books. And it's just my prayer that this morning there will be further times of a transformation of stuff within our hearts and about this relationship that he wants with us. God has taken me on a sort of a journey of revelation, this unfolding, oh, that's who you're really like. And I'm getting more and more revelation of that. And as that's constantly unfolding in our world, in our history, that revelation, my lovely wife, she comes up with these combined words. She's got quite a lot of them, actually. And one of them is, God wants a relationship with you. That's what he wants. It's an unfolding revelation of who he is. But he wants a relationship with you. And that's my cry today for you, that you will know something more of that love. So as we move into just a few moments of quiet and reflection at the end. One of the things, it's just a little thing which actually just dropped into my head this morning, and I hope it's for someone here. If you haven't seen the film The Shack, there's some absolutely amazing bits within that film. Absolutely amazing. And there's one moment where the guy is looking at a bird, and the God character says, oh yeah, right, they're beautiful, aren't they? I designed them to fly. Birds are designed to fly. And then the God character looks at him and says, I designed you to love, to be loved. We were designed to be loved. Wow. We were designed to be loved. Let's just pause, try to gather all our wandering thoughts, everything that flashes around in our heads at a million miles. Let's just be quiet for a second. Ask him to speak to you afresh in your language. Something for you right now. My love, you are the rarest wonder the universe has ever known. Your life is a song that will only be sung once. Every breath you take makes history. Don't chase the fake rainbow of comparison. My love, be unashamedly yourself. Don't clone your life. Own your life. I'll say that again. My love, you are the rarest wonder the universe will ever know. Your life is a song that will only be sung once. Every breath you take makes history. Don't chase the faint rainbow of comparison. My love, be unashamedly yourself. Don't clone your life. Own your life. And I'm very aware that the time has gone. Wow, does that go quickly? But I do want to give you an opportunity to pray with one another, with somebody that you feel comfortable with, if you would like some prayer. If God has spoken to you, or you feel like he hasn't, and you just want somebody to just pray, then Marianne and myself are certainly up for praying for anyone. And I just want to say thank you for listening to the wild ramblings of this crazy man. And I just trust that something of that deep, deep love of what you were designed for and that relationship with him will go deep, deep, deep into your being, and that it won't take you 40 years to discover that that's all he wants from you, a relationship with him. Amen.